You were not ruined because you were weak. You were ruined because you were good. Think about that for a second. All the times you went out of your way to be understanding, to be fair, to be forgiving, all the late nights you stayed, the chances you gave, the benefit of the doubt you extended. Where did it lead you? To power? To respect? Or to being quietly taken for granted, stepped over, and replaced by people who were half as capable but twice as ruthless? You were told that goodness is its own reward, that if you are kind, patient, loyal, the universe will somehow balance the scales. Look at your own life. Did it? Or did goodness become the exact bait that predators learn to follow? Machiavelli watched this pattern play out at the highest levels of power. He saw virtuous, idealistic men slaughtered, exiled, erased, while colder, less good men survived and ruled. He drew a conclusion that your teachers would never dare say out loud. In a world run by fear, self-interest, and vanity, unprotected goodness is not a virtue, it is a liability. You have felt this without having the words. You did the right thing and got punished. You spoke honestly and were betrayed. You stayed loyal and were discarded the moment you were no longer useful. Part of you still clings to the story that goodness will eventually win if you just stay true. Another part of you, the darker, quieter part, knows something is wrong with that script. This video is for that darker part. We are going to talk about the shocking cost of goodness, the pieces of your life you are sacrificing on the altar of an idea that was handed to you by people who benefit from your obedience. We are not going to celebrate becoming cruel. We are going to expose how your obsession with being seen as good has made you predictable, controllable, and easy to discard. And then, we are going to talk about how to keep your soul without offering your throat. Within the next few minutes, you will see what Machiavelli really meant when he wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved. Not because love is bad, but because the world you live in does not reward purity. It rewards power. If you do this right, you will not become a villain. You will become something far more dangerous, a good man who is no longer harmless. The first hidden cost of goodness is this: goodness makes you deaf to incentives. You were trained to judge people by their intentions, or at least by what they say their intentions are. He didn't mean it. She has a good heart. They're trying their best. You tell yourself these stories because you want them to be true. You want to live in a world where people act from conscience, not calculation. But Machiavelli's brutal observation was simple. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few feel what you are. The world does not move on intentions, it moves on incentives, on fear, on gain, on loss. Your goodness blinds you to this. You listen to apologies instead of watching behavior. You believe promises instead of looking at what a person stands to win or lose. And then you act surprised when they choose self-interest over the version of them you invented in your head. Imagine a colleague who keeps forgetting to credit you for your work. Each time they say the right words, "Sorry, my mistake, I value you." You accept it because you want to be fair, understanding, not paranoid. Now look at their incentives. Each time they forget, they gain status. They look more competent, they edge closer to the promotion you quietly hope for. What incentive do they have to change? None. Your goodness just gave them a green light. Dangerously smart people do it differently. They hear the apology, but they measure the incentives. They don't hate the person, they don't moralize, they think, if I were them, same fears, same ambitions, same rewards, would I behave any better? Usually, the answer is no. And so they adjust their strategy, not their fantasy. Here is the brutal principle. When you choose to believe words over incentives, you are choosing to be deceived. That is the cost. The second cost of goodness is that goodness puts you on defense. Good people are trained to explain, to justify, to prove they are not like those other people. So the moment someone challenges your motives, your integrity, your character, you feel an almost physical compulsion to answer. No, you don't understand. I was just... You start talking, clarifying, pleading your case. What you don't see in that moment is that the frame has already shifted. You are no longer a sovereign judging your own actions. You are the defendant in someone else's courtroom. They are the judge. You are the child begging to not be misunderstood. Machiavelli understood that power is not about who is right, it is about who holds the frame. The person who demands explanations is the one who is asserting authority. The person who supplies them is the one accepting that authority. Your goodness, your need to be seen as innocent, drags you straight into the defendant's seat every time. Picture a relationship where this plays out. Your partner says, "You've been really distant lately. Do you even care about me anymore?" If your entire identity is built on being a good, caring person, this accusation hits like a bullet. You rush to defend. "Of course I care. I've just been tired, stressed, busy. Let me explain." You think you're repairing the bond. In reality, you are training them. You're showing them exactly which button to press to make them dance. Now imagine the Machiavellian version. They say, "You've been really distant lately. Do you even care about me anymore?" You pause, you feel the sting, then instead of defending your goodness, you ask, "What makes you say that?" You have not accepted the role of the accused. You have turned the light back on their perception, their story, their needs. If you choose to explain later, it's from choice, not compulsion. The principle here is sharp. The more you need to be seen as good, the easier it is to put you on trial. And a man always on trial never has time to rule his own life. The third cost of goodness is that goodness erases your boundaries. From childhood, your goodness was measured by how much you gave, how much you shared, how quickly you forgave. You learned that saying no was selfish, that walking away was heartless, that protecting your time and energy was not nice. So, you became generous with the only resources you will never get back: your attention, your emotional energy, your years. Think of how many times you said yes when every cell in your body wanted to say no. How many times you've listened to someone unload their chaos on you, comforted them, advised them, only to watch them repeat the exact same patterns and come back for another dose of your empathy like it was a drug. What did your goodness buy you? Gratitude? Loyalty? Or just more demands? Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn not to be good in order to be good. At first, that sounds twisted, but look deeper. If your goodness keeps you exhausted, resentful, and used, what exactly are you giving to the people who actually deserve you? The more you bleed yourself out on the ungrateful, the less you have for the loyal. Dangerously smart people understand that boundaries are not the opposite of goodness. They are the container that makes goodness sustainable. Saying no to those who drain you is how you say yes, fully and fiercely, to those who would stand beside you in a storm. The cost of boundaryless goodness is simple. You teach the world that your time is cheap, your energy is free, and your presence requires no investment. And the world responds accordingly. The fourth cost of goodness is that it makes you glow in the dark for predators. You think your kindness, your patience, your willingness to help sends a message that you are a good person. It does, but not everyone reads that message the way you hope. Healthy people see a decent human being. Predators see an easy mark. Remember, the people who exploit others are not confused about morality. They just have different priorities. They are not asking, "Is this person good?" They are asking, "Is this person useful? Is this person easy to guilt, to flatter, to pressure?" Your goodness answers yes to all three. Picture the friend who only calls you when their life is burning down, when they need money, a couch, emotional triage at 2 a.m. In calmer times, you barely exist to them. Yet every time they reappear with a new crisis, you open your door, your wallet, your chest. Why? Because you want to be supportive, loyal, not like the people who abandoned you. Now see it through their eyes. Each time they test the boundary and you respond, they learn something. Your threshold for disrespect is high, and your appetite for being needed is even higher. You are not just good, you are predictable. And predictability is the predator's favorite perfume. Machiavelli wrote about how merciful rulers, the ones who hated conflict and wanted to be loved, often presided over more chaos and cruelty in their states than the ones who punished quickly and harshly when necessary. Why? because wolves know when the shepherd is squeamish. Mercy without teeth is an invitation. Here is the uncomfortable principle. Goodness without the capacity for punishment is indistinguishable in the eyes of a predator from weakness. The fifth cost of goodness is quieter but deadlier. Goodness makes you betray yourself. You think you're sacrificing for others. You think you're choosing the higher road. But look closely. How many acts of goodness in your life have come from a clean decision, and how many have come from fear? Fear of being alone, fear of being disliked, fear of being called selfish, difficult, cold. You say yes to favors you hate. You stay in relationships that degrade you. You swallow your anger until it hardens into something bitter and shapeless. On the surface, you are good. Inside, you are rotting. Machiavelli would not call this virtue. He would call it poor governance. If you were a state, you would be in quiet civil war, the part of you that wants peace at any cost, fighting the part of you that knows the cost is becoming unbearable. Every time you override your own boundaries to preserve your image of yourself as good, you teach your unconscious a brutal lesson. Your pain does not matter. Your needs are negotiable. The only thing sacred is how other people see us. And then you wonder why you feel numb, drained, resentful. You're not exhausted from being good. You are exhausted from constantly abandoning yourself and calling it morality. Dangerously smart people learn to reverse this. They make a simple but ruthless shift. Loyalty goes inward first. Before they ask what is the right thing to do for them, they ask what is the right thing to do for my integrity, my energy, my future. If the answer serves both, they act. If the answer only serves others at the cost of self, they pause. The principle is sharp. If your goodness requires you to disappear, it is not goodness. It is self-erasure with a halo on top. At this point, you might be thinking, so what? I should just stop being good? Become selfish? Become like the people who hurt me? That's the trap your conditioning sets for you. The belief that the only options are saint or monster. Machiavelli offers a third path. He said a prince must learn not to be good and to use that knowledge according to necessity. Not all the time, not indiscriminately, according to necessity. The real question is not, are you good? The real question is, are you capable? Capable of saying no without writing a 3-paragraph explanation? Capable of walking away when respect is gone, even if love remains? Capable of seeing self-interest beneath beautiful words and adjusting your trust accordingly? Capable of making someone feel the consequences of crossing your boundaries without turning it into a dramatic performance? A harmless person coded in goodness is not moral, they're just safe to exploit. A capable person who chooses where and when to be merciful, that is someone whose goodness actually means something, because it's backed by the credible capacity to do otherwise. You've spent most of your life trying to be seen as good. What would happen if instead you tried to become someone who cannot be casually used? What would your days look like if your first responsibility was to guard the kingdom of your own mind, your own time, your own body? This is where the shadow enters. The part of you that is tired of being good is not purely evil. It's also the part that is tired of being lied to, stepped on, and dismissed. The anger you feel when you look back at all the times you were too nice is not a sign that you are becoming a bad person. It's a sign that your shadow, the part of you that knows you are capable of more than submission, is waking up. Most people try to kill this part. They drown it in spiritual platitudes, productivity hacks, or numbing distractions. They tell themselves that feeling used is their cross to bear, that their reward will come later, that their trauma is proof of their purity. Dangerously smart people do something else. They invite the shadow to the table. They ask, what are you trying to protect me from? Where did my goodness become a mask for cowardice, for fear, for the refusal to draw blood when necessary? This is not about becoming cruel. It's about integrating the parts of you that are already there, your rage, your desire for justice, your refusal to be humiliated again, and giving them a disciplined outlet. Think of the last time you exploded on someone after weeks or months of swallowing your truth. You told yourself you were being good by staying quiet. Then, when you finally snapped, you looked like the irrational one. That's what happens when your shadow is ignored. It doesn't disappear, it waits, then it takes the wheel. Machiavelli would tell you, better to know the wolf inside you than to pretend it isn't there. A ruler who refuses to acknowledge his capacity for cruelty is the one who will commit it blindly, in panicked bursts, at the worst possible moments. A ruler who has looked his darkness in the eye can leash it, aim it, and, most importantly, choose not to use it. The same is true for you. Until you accept that you are capable of selfishness, of coldness, of walking away, you will keep overcorrecting in the opposite direction, overgiving, over-explaining, overstaying. Your goodness will remain a reaction to a part of you you refuse to own. True moral power, the kind Machiavelli secretly respected even as he dissected it, comes from a man who can say, yes, I could destroy you, I choose not to, but do not mistake my choice for incapacity. Here is where the conversation turns from diagnosis to decision. You can keep playing the role you were assigned, the endlessly understanding one, the reliable backup character in everyone else's story. Or you can rewrite what goodness means on your own terms. Not the terms your parents handed you, not the terms your culture applauds publicly while rewarding the opposite in private. Your terms. To do that, you have to make a ruthless distinction. There is a difference between being good and being good for others to use. The first is an inner orientation. The second is a performance. A man who is truly good in Machiavellian terms is one whose presence increases order, strength, and clarity in his own life and in the lives of those around him. He may be gentle or he may be terrifying, but his actions create stability. The good man you were trained to be is different. His presence creates an easy resource for anyone who wants a free emotional or material meal. Look at your relationships through this lens. Which ones get stronger because you are in them? Which ones simply get easier for them because you are in them? Where does your goodness act like a stabilizing force, and where does it act like a bottomless trash can for other people's unresolved chaos? Machiavelli would tell you to withdraw goodness from the latter and double it in the former, not emotionally, but practically. Imagine you have a friend who consistently shows up, keeps their word, defends you in rooms you are not in. When they call, you answer. When they need help, you move. Your loyalty there is not just moral, it is strategic. You are reinforcing an alliance. That is goodness with teeth. Now imagine the person who disappears when you're struggling, only to reappear when they need a place to crash or a sympathetic ear. A good version of you feels obligated to be equally available to both. The sovereign version of you does not. You can be polite to the second, but your resources are reserved for the first. Not because you're petty, but because you finally understand that where you place your goodness determines the structure of your world. Here is the first hard rule. Loyalty inward, then outward by merit. If your goodness harms your own foundation, it is misapplied. And if your goodness is equally available to the loyal and the disloyal, you are teaching the loyal that their effort is meaningless. Machiavelli knew that rewards and punishments shape a kingdom. Your life is no different. The second rule is this: never give more to someone than they are willing to risk for you. You pour time, energy, money, secrets into people who would not cross a puddle for you, let alone a fire. You call it love or generosity or being better than them. In reality, you are financing your own disappointment. Before you extend yourself, pause and ask, if the roles were reversed, what is the heaviest thing I could realistically expect this person to carry for me? If the honest answer is not much, then your massive investment is not noble, it is delusional. Adjust. Match. Don't overpay. Does this mean you keep score obsessively? No, it means you remain awake. The man who gives blindly is not more virtuous than the man who gives with eyes open. He is just more likely to wake up one day surrounded by people who are used to taking and stunned when he finally stops. The third rule is this: your no is more important than your yes. Good people pride themselves on how much they say yes to. Yes, I can help. Yes, I can stay late. Yes, I can listen. But it is your no that defines the actual borders of your life. If your no is rare, shaky, or always followed by a long justification, you don't have borders, you have suggestions. Machiavelli advised princes to make their decisions clear and, when necessary, feared. That doesn't mean screaming or threatening. It means when you decide, the decision stands. Picture a coworker who casually dumps their unfinished tasks on your desk with a charming smile because you're so good at this. The old you laughs nervously, takes it on, and burns a weekend fixing someone else's laziness. The new you says, "No, I have my own priorities to finish." No explanation, no apology, just a fact. They may pout, protest, or try guilt. Let them. Their discomfort is not a signal that you were wrong. It is a sign they were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. Sometimes, the first time you say no, you will be accused of changing, of becoming cold. In a sense, they are right. The climate around you is changing. Parasites do not celebrate when the host becomes less accommodating. The fourth rule is this: stop arguing with people's perception. Start acting from your own. One of the most expensive side effects of goodness is your addiction to being understood. You think if you just explain enough, if you show enough sincerity, if you prove your intentions, people will adjust their view of you to match who you know yourself to be. Some will, most will not. Not because you were wrong, but because their perception of you serves a purpose. To fix their story, they would have to admit that maybe they used you, misjudged you, failed you. That is expensive for their ego. So instead, they keep you in the role that keeps them comfortable, the dependable one, the forgiving one, the backup plan. Dangerously smart people do not waste their breath trying to force someone to see them accurately. They watch, they take note, and they adjust their availability. If someone insists on seeing you as selfish the moment you stop overgiving, let them. If someone insists on seeing you as weak, even after you set clear boundaries, let them. You are not obligated to fight your own lawyer and your own judge inside their head. You are only obligated to run your kingdom well. Machiavelli would remind you, reputations can be weaponized. Do not hand weapons to people who have already shown you where they will aim. So what does all of this look like in practice? It looks like arriving at a family gathering and no longer being the automatic therapist for everyone's unresolved drama. You can listen once, but when the same story repeats, you say, "I've given you my thoughts. What you do now is up to you," and you change the subject or leave the room. It looks like a boss who loads you with extra work because you're so reliable, and you responding, "My plate is full. If you want me to take that on, tell me which current project you'd like me to drop." No resentment, just a forced prioritization. It looks like a partner who tries to weaponize your fear of being a bad person. "If you really loved me, you'd..." And you saying, "My love is not proven by ignoring my own limits," and refusing to budge. In each case, your goodness is not disappearing. It is being relocated from the fragile need to be seen a certain way into the solid practice of governing your own life with clarity. This is where the transformation begins. But it will not happen just because you agree with these ideas intellectually. Agreement is cheap. The world is full of people who know better and still bleed themselves the same old way. Change happens when you are willing to endure the short-term discomfort of violating your own outdated identity as the good one.
Here is the ugly truth your old self will fight against with everything it has. To step out of this pattern, you will have to be willing to look bad to the wrong people. You will have to be willing to be called selfish by those who were feeding on your self-betrayal. You will have to be willing to disappoint those who are only ever loyal to your compliance. You will have to be willing to hear, "You've changed," from mouths that were very comfortable with the version of you that never said no. If that sentence scares you more than the idea of spending the next 10 years exactly as you are now, then understand this clearly. Your prison is not built of other people's opinions. It is built of your addiction to a certain image of yourself. The image of the good one, the strong one, the forgiving one. Machiavelli would ask you a brutal question. What use is your goodness if it only produces suffering in your own life and chaos in the lives of those around you? A kingdom with a good but weak ruler is not peaceful. It is a playground for wolves. So here is your experiment. Not another idea to nod along to, but a concrete contract with yourself. For the next 7 days, you will practice a different form of goodness. Call it sovereign goodness. On day 1, every time you feel the urge to explain yourself to prove you are not a bad person, you will pause. You are allowed to answer questions, you are not allowed to plead. If you catch yourself stacking reasons, stories, and justifications just to rescue your image, you stop mid-sentence. You say, "That's my decision," or "That's how I see it," and you let the silence fall where your old self would have kept begging. On day 2, you will watch where your time goes. Any request that makes your stomach tighten, any invitation you instantly resent as soon as you say yes, becomes a test. You will allow yourself to say, "No, I can't," without adding a single excuse. Your heart will race, your mind will scream that you're being cruel. You do it anyway. On day 3, you will track conversations where you are the emotional dumping ground. The moment you realize you have heard this same tragedy 3, 4, 5 times before, you will gently step out. "I've told you what I think. I don't want to go in circles on this." And either change the subject or physically remove yourself. Watch who respects this and who gets angry. That difference is your map. On day 4, you will notice every small way people show you who they are with their actions. The forgetful colleague, the conditional friend, the partner who only apologizes when cornered. You will not confront all of them. You will simply update their file in your mind and quietly begin adjusting your investment. Less access, less energy, less blind trust. On day 5, you will choose one interaction where the old you would go out of your way to overgive, staying late, paying for everything, listening for hours, and you will do only your fair share. Not less, not nothing, just what is reasonable. Then you will sit with the discomfort of not rescuing, not fixing, not impressing. You will see that the world does not end, only your illusion of control cracks. On day 6, you will ask your shadow what it is still angry about. You will pick one memory where your goodness was weaponized against you and write down in plain language where you ignored reality in the name of being good. Then you will extract one rule from it, just one, a line you can live by. If respect is gone, I go too. If they lie twice, access is cut in half. That rule becomes law in your life. On day 7, you will do the hardest thing. You will let at least one person be wrong about you. You will hear the accusation, the judgment, the story they tell themselves about your motives, and you will not rush in to correct it. You will let their version of you live in their head while you live your actual life. Feel the chains snap when you realize you do not, in fact, die when someone thinks poorly of you. If you walk through this week honestly, you will start to notice subtle but undeniable shifts. Some people will pull away, usually the ones most invested in the previous arrangement. Let them go. You were paying a high fee to keep them anyway. Others will look at you differently. They may not know what changed, but they will sense it. You will seem less available for nonsense, less easy to push, less ready to contort yourself to make everyone comfortable. Some will test your new edges. They will poke, guilt, provoke. Stay steady. They are just mapping your new terrain. And some, the rare ones, will lean in with more respect. They will see that your yes now means something because your no has teeth. They will trust you more because you clearly trust yourself. These are the people your goodness was always meant for. Allies, partners, the inner circle. Underneath all of this, the real transformation is quieter. You will feel it in the way you breathe when you wake up, in the way you look at your own reflection, in the way your body no longer tenses every time your phone lights up with a message from someone who always wants something. You are not becoming less good. You are becoming less available for the version of goodness that requires your suffering. Machiavelli lived in the world of courts, conspiracies, and knives in the dark. You live in a world of emails, social media, and smiling faces with hidden ledgers. The tools have changed. The underlying forces have not. Self-interest, fear, vanity, these are still the engines. If you cling to an image of goodness that ignores them, you are not noble. You are simply late to understanding the game you are already in. The shocking cost of your old goodness was simple. It kept you a piece on other people's boards. A predictable, generous, apologetic piece that could be moved, used, and sacrificed without ever threatening the player. The point of this is not to turn you into a villainous player. It is to make you the sovereign of your own board. A man whose goodness is a choice, not a compulsion. A man who can show mercy because he is not terrified of conflict. A man who can love fiercely without letting love be the knife held to his own throat. From prey to player, from harmless good to dangerous good, from child begging to be seen as pure to sovereign deciding where his light falls. That is the arc you are on if you choose it. If something in you, something darker, sharper, more tired of the old script felt seen in these words, do not let that feeling fade back into theory. Turn it into a decision, a line in the sand. You can walk away from this and slip back into the comfortable costume of the good one, or you can let this be the moment you stopped trading your life for other people's comfort and started practicing a different kind of virtue. Strategic virtue, sovereign virtue. If you are ready to keep going down this path, to study power, psychology, and strategy until you are no one's easy mark again, then treat this as your first public act of treason against your old identity. Subscribe, not because I asked you to, but because you are done being harmlessly good in a world that quietly feeds on men like that. You are no longer volunteering to be the cost of someone else's comfort. From here on out, your goodness serves your sovereignty first.